In the previous session or the first that we discussed about what is a DevOps. So DevOps is nothing but it is a infrastructure automation. And while going with the infrastructure automation, most software development companies will help you to work with the DevOps. So DevOps is typically used in the software development companies where they want to create a pipeline of a given software. Means from the developer to the integration, to the QA and testing, to the production. So this journey, they will make it happen. This journey, they will make it happen. Now, all these platforms which we are working, 80% of the market works on Linux platform. Now, let's try to understand what is the Linux, what we can go with the Linux, and what we can have or achieve with the Linux operating system. In the market, we came with the Linux operating system nearly in 1990s. Linus Torvald has created a software called as a Linux, and it has put on the internet in 1990s. Okay, officially that got released in, I believe, 1992. It is an official release of the Linux system. Now, this year we are enjoying 25th year of Linux. Which year? 25th. That means this is not a newborn operating system. It is a very mature, it is a very stable operating system. Okay. Now, what is the reason behind that this Linux get popular? So Linux is popular with a lot of things. Number one, it is a free. Number two, it is an open source. Number three, it is a virus free. It is a virus free operating system. That means literally there is no virus in the Linux operating system. And that is where the organizations are looking for. Let's say in my organization, there are 18,000 servers. One server, let's say, cost 1 lakh rupees. So how much investment is there? You can imagine, right? Millions and billions of dollars are invested. Now, if I purchase a software which costs 2 lakhs rupees, and I want to put that software on each server, how much cost it will go? Millions and billions. So organizations don't want to go with that. So that's why they want to go with the free versions. Or at least they want to go with the stable version which is available there. And stability is the number one point which we need to go. So security is also one of the advantage of the Linux operating system. It is highly secure. Okay, now let's go one by one. Let's talk about one by one. Free. Free means literally you don't have to pay a single money to use the software. Open source. Now what is meant by open source? So open source doesn't mean it's a free. Open source has a different meaning. Let's understand that. Let's say you are using Windows operating system. Now you are using one software. Let's say you are using a very preliminary basic software, which is a notepad. You are using this software. You purchase the Windows 7, you are using this. Now when you start working with that, you face a problem. You face that Control C and Control V is not working in that. So what steps you will take? Any idea what steps you will take? If the Control C, Control is not, this copy and paste is not working, what you will do? What you will do?
Reinstall.
Loudly. You will do the right click, and suppose right click is also not working, what you will do?
Reach out to Microsoft.
Yes, so somebody says restart. Yes, either you can restart and try to troubleshoot, but if it's not happening, then what you will do? You will contact to the Microsoft. One of the answer came from online saying that we will connect to Microsoft because you have purchased the software. You have purchased the software. You say, hey, there is a bug, there is a problem, and you will go with the Microsoft tech support. And tech support is, oh, we got your problem, and looks like it's a bug, and let me verify that. And what Microsoft will do then? The Microsoft tech support will contact to the internal developer team. It will contact to the internal developer team. Now the developer will team say, oh, okay, looks like there's a bug I need to open. So they will open one file called as, let's say example, notepad.c. Which file they will open? Notepad.c. Maybe it is written in different language, but I will say for sake of convenience, it is written in C language. So you'll say notepad.c. Oh, and they say identify the bug. That is why the control C, control V is not working, or right click copy paste is not working. They fix that part. Let's say this is the version 2.0. So this notepad is what? Version 1.0 as an example. So it's a 2.0. So what happens? Once they modify it, they test it, they package it as a patch. And they'll say, and they will call to you, hey, respected sir or madam, I have created a patch, or we have created a patch. And can you please go ahead and implement this patch? So what this patch will do, it will replace the version 1 with version 2.0. It will remove. Now what it will do, when it is testing and packaging, the packaging will happen again. It will notepad.exe. Again, it will package in the notepad.exe, and then the package will come to you. You are going to run double click on that patch. It will run. It will replace the 1.0 with the 2.0. And that is how you will solve your problem, because you have purchased the operating system. Now, in this case, the notepad exe is the target. What is that? It is the target. What is the source? Notepad.c file is the source file. Now, when we are working with Linux, we will get both of them. We'll get the source as well as we'll get target. And that's why it says open source. What it says? Open source. But when you go with the Windows or some kind of proprietary operating system, you will only get the target. You will never get the source. And that is called as a closed source operating system or software. So now understand the difference? Open source means the original file under which the program has been written. It can be a Java, it can be a C, it can be a .NET, it can be anything. But it is the original program, that is a source. From that original program, you are creating a target program. And open source software comes along with the both, the source and the target. But proprietary operating system will only come with the target. That is what is the difference between the open source and closed source. So now you understood the second point, which is the open source. Is clear? So this is the open source. That means you will get the .c file. Now there are advantages of this open source. What? Now there are millions of programmers sitting outside. Some or the other program is hitting the boundaries, having some problems. Now using Microsoft product, you have only one way to update your program is go to the Microsoft, file the enhancement request, bug request, or whatever stuff, you will get that. But in real time, how many people go and back the report, the bugs? Very few people go back. Maybe if 100 people are using, only 5% or 10% people will go and report the bugs. But suppose you are using Linux operating system, you are good in that language, C language, for example. What you will do? You will open that notepad.c by yourself. You will modify the program as per your need. You will recompile it and you will create the executable file, the target file, and you'll start using that. Once it is working successfully, you will report back to the Linux team or the particular application team. Hey, I found the bug and this is the fix I have did. Can you please apply this fix on your source code? So they will go and apply the fix on the source code. That is how the bugs are get identified and fixed very fast in the open source. Millions of programmers are watching, and that's why the more stability will come. Of course, it will also bring the hacker's brain together, because hackers will also see this open source and they try to understand where is the bug, which bug I can use and I can exploit and these and that. But ultimately, there are also programmers who are a very nice programmer. They will go and see and they will fix those bugs. That's why the stability of Linux operating system is very high, because of millions of developers are contributing its growth, not the end users, right? For the other products, you have end users. How many times you open any file in Windows and modify it? No, right? Because you don't have source code. You don't have source code. But there are high chances that people uses the Linux and go. Now, somebody says that the GUI is a crappy of the Linux operating system. I will say no. Why? Because if you say that, I will ask you how many years you have used the Linux operating system as a desktop. If you say I work for 1 day, 2 days, and I'm not able to understand, then that is not a fault of the operating system. That is the chance that we have not get the right thing while working with the GUI. So Linux has very nice GUI. Now, who can say that? Lot many people. In India, how many people are using Linux as a desktop? Let's say 5%. How many people are using Windows as a desktop? I'll say this is the Linux desktop. How many Windows desktop? Maybe 80% or 90%. How many people are using Mac as a desktop? Maybe 5%. Okay, maybe 5%. Now, why there is so less and why we are going with that? A simple thing is that in India, the laws are not very strict. But if you go outside countries like US, how many people are using Linux? Maybe 30% of people are using Linux. How many people are using Mac? Maybe 60 to 70% are people using the Mac. And rest of the things, you can understand what is there. In Europe, similar picture. You will have, or you will see that Linux system is used nearly by 70% of the market, because the laws are stringent. In India, many people use the pirated version, which is not a good thing, but still go with the pirated version. I can get that. Why to go with the piracy if you have the Linux operating system? So go and install the Linux operating system on your machines and get the virus-free environment. Literally no virus. Now you can see that the benefits, a lot of benefits. Number one, speed will improve. Number two, security. Number three, no virus in your system. And ultimately, that will become your bread and butter, because 80% of the market uses Linux server. If you are comfortable with Linux desktop, you can easily comfortable with Linux operating system. Now, I will say that you say, oh, Windows is very good in GUI. That is a simple reason why from last 5 to 10 years, you are only using Windows operating system. Correct? That's why you are familiar. That's why it became easy for you. You go on with the same struggle and pain while learning the operating system. You did a lot of mistakes while learning the operating system, but you don't know that. Now it's time to learn Linux. Why you are learning Linux? It will give you the job, nothing else. We are here for the jobs. We are not here for any other thing. So 80% of the market goes for Linux because of 4 factors: free, open source, virus free, and security. It's very stable, very secure. Okay. Now, what are the different things available in Linux? Let's go and talk about that. So we'll say Linux. So there are a lot of good things are available with Linux. Number one, Red Hat is the company which has its own product. Another is the Debian format. Other is the SUSE. and so on. Now, many of you may or may not know that Android is also a Linux operating system. Android is also free operating system. You can go to android.org, you can download the Android free of cost. Interesting, right? How many of you are using Android phones? Maybe 80% of people are using Android phone. And is the GUI is bad? Very bad, right? I'm not able to do anything there. Because it's a desktop-like flavor. Like Java is the main interface. Beautiful. You don't have any problem while working with the Android. Right? Because they have made it very nice, beautiful. Right? And it is open source. You can jump on that. So Red Hat, the company, came with the product. So there are 3 products of Red Hat: RHEL, CentOS, and Fedora. So these are the 3 products of Red Hat. So if somebody says, are you working on Red Hat? That means, are you familiar with the Red Hat, RHEL, or Fedora? Or so RHEL stands for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. What is the CentOS? It is a community enterprise Linux. And what is the Fedora? So Fedora is the name of the, it's a desktop. So now this is a server. So S stands for server, S stands for server, D stands for desktop. Okay, let's go with that. S for server, D for desktop. So Red Hat, RHEL, and CentOS are server operating system. Fedora is a desktop operating system. So we are going to work with the server operating system. In real time, we are going to work with the server operating system. Now, there is, with the Red Hat, this is the paid version. This is the free version. This is the free version. Let's go with that. So we'll say P for paid and F for free. Okay. Now, what is the difference between RHEL and CentOS? Because both are the server operating system. One is paid and one is free. Okay. With the paid version, you will get the support from Red Hat. With the free version, you will not get direct support from Red Hat because it's a community edition. You have to respond with the community and wait for the updates there. So if your organization is okay with that, you can go either with the free or paid. It depends on your organization. Now, what is the difference? Difference is the hardware level support. For example, if your RHEL will support 128 CPUs, as an example, here it will support 64 CPUs. Basically, it's a hardware limitation. On one motherboard, if you have 128 CPUs, RHEL will support that, as an example. Right? So limitation on the physical limitation, physical boundaries. For another boundaries, you can say that if RAM, it can support up to 1 TB RAM. As an example, this will support like 256 GB of RAM. So that is the hardware limitations we have with the CentOS. Okay, but apart from that, there is no restrictions. Apart from that, there is no restriction. Now we are using and we are working as a training mode. We are working with the testing mode. I am not sure any laptop has 64 CPUs and 256 GB of RAM. Or I am not sure if anybody will go and set up the one machine with the 64 CPU and that much RAM in the cloud. In the training, we are not going to do that. So that's why CentOS is very, very good for us. Now, with that, you will not able to know updates available with the paid version. Here is a full updates, full features is available with the CentOS, right? So you have no updates available. You have to, for updates, you have to purchase a license. For updates, You have to purchase a license. But with CentOS, you have full updates available. You don't have any restrictions as a features. As a features, all the features which are available in RHEL, it is available. But in RHEL, you cannot upgrade or update your softwares because it's a licensed product. But in CentOS, you can have full feature, full updates are available. That is why we are going with the CentOS. Because physical boundaries are not matter while we are studying the operating system. We want all features. We want no restriction while learning. We want each and every item while learning. So we will go with that. Is clear? Good. And if any questions on the online member, please put your questions in the chat. Don't wait for the last minute to ask questions, so we can go and collect the questions and then we can answer your questions. Okay. So we are doing good at this moment. So we are saying that, hey, this is RHEL, this is CentOS, this is a free, this is a desktop, and so on. Is clear? Now, what is a Linux? So we understood what is a Linux there. Now, what is a Unix? Now, there is another flavor which is called as Unix. So let's understand what is the Unix. Let's understand what is the Unix. So I'll remove this Android and I can put something there. I can say, hey, go for Unix. So what is Unix? Unix has different flavors. AIX, which is the IBM Unix. Second is the HP UX, HP Unix, and Sun Solaris. Now Sun Microsystem has been brought by Oracle. So we will say Oracle Solaris. But recently, I believe Oracle has announced that they will no longer have the patches or update for Solaris. So Solaris is going to officially stop. Now, what is the Unix? Unix is different than Linux. So Linux is not Unix and Unix is not Linux. Okay. In what sense? So Unix need a special hardware. What it needs? Needs special hardware. You cannot go and install the Unix on your desktop or something. In real time, you're not able to do and install in desktop or something. You have to buy a special machine, and you have to buy the special machine from the vendor itself. You have to buy from IBM, or you have to buy from HP, or you have to buy from Sun Microsystem. You have to buy the special hardware, and you have to go. This is not free. It has a paid version. So Unix is not free. Unix is not free. Third thing, Unix is not open source. Not a open source. So looks like we have one question from online. Okay, difference between desktop and OS. Okay. So one of the question came from the online saying, what is the difference between desktop and the server? So it is just you will have the GUI and no GUI. That is the difference. And logically, if you see, there is no difference. You can use your desktop as a server also. Okay. But definitely you will not, in real time, you will not have GUI on the server. You have to write the command line, black and white screen. Everything you will go with the back screen. Okay. Back to our Unix. So Unix needs a special hardware. Unix is a paid version. Unix is stuff. Now, how many Unix servers are available in the market? Very less, 2 to 5%. Now, very less market. Previously, it was having huge market, but due to entry of the Linux, the market has been shrink down. So it is used in the research center. It is using banking applications and very special things, right? But not in the Genesis. Now banking sector is also removing this Unix steadily. they are getting Linux into the system because of the high cost, high machine cost, high software cost, special hardware, special members. Now they are not able to get the engineers to support these products, right? So there are a lot of people who are shifted from this AIX, UX, and Solaris from Unix to Linux. Pardon? So I may not able to repeat that but I can explain you once the class is done, right? Definitely we'll do that because it's already we have covered a lot of things. So I may not able to cover all the things from starting to end here, right? But I will explain you once the session is over. Definitely we'll talk on that. Okay, so that's what is the difference between the Linux and Unix. Any other questions we have at this moment? Yes, please. In Linux and Unix, yes, commands are very same. If you learn Linux, nearly 70% of Unix you already learn, right? So it's exactly same. Syntax may be a little bit different, but the commands are same. You can go along with that. Okay. So if you learn Linux, you automatically learn Unix. You don't have to do a special coaching. I need these, that. No, you can comfortably work with that. Some command may be different, but you can comfortably work with the operating system. Okay. Any other questions? Any other thing in your mind about Linux or Unix and why we are studying Linux or why we want to do that? Why we want to study Linux? Why you want to study Linux? We don't know why you want to study. You want a job, right? Why you came here in the class? We want a job. If you forget your ultimate aim, no use of all these things. No use of all these things. We want a job. That's why we are here, and that's why we want to learn Linux because 80% of the market uses Linux. You have good job opportunities available outside if you learn. And there are, of course, suppose you are walking on the street here and I give you I pick up a stone and give in your hand. I say, take this stone free of cost. Take this stone free of cost. Are you going to take the stone free of cost? You what will say? You will take the stone and hit on me, right? In what the crap you are giving. So that's not a Linux. Linux, even though it's a free, it has a lot of good features. Virus free, security, stability, and so on. Already we have explained, so we will come back once we are done with that. Okay, any other questions from online? Okay, now when we are going to learn what we are going to learn, so we'll say, hey, I want to put a note. I want to put a note here. Okay, so what we miss here? Security. Okay. So I'll go at the end and I will say note. What we are doing? We are going to use CentOS. And we have explained why we are going to use CentOS because it's free. It has a full feature. It's a free and it has a full features. Now, how you can install Linux? Let's say I assume that you have a laptop, i3 processor, 4 GB RAM, and 100 GB free disk space. I'm assuming that you have that. If not, we have the lab facility available. You can work and sit there. Now, what do you need to do as a prerequisite to learn DevOps? So you need a good laptop. If you have Celeron processor, Pentium processor, it may not be helpful. You need i3, either i3, i5, i7 processor. Okay, don't go with the low processor. It will not work properly. If you don't have this, then there is an option. You can go to the AWS, create your free account, and get $750, 750 hours of resources free. Go to the Google or Azure, open your free account, and you get $300 resources free. Or go to the Google, get the free $300. So it's very easy. You use a free account like a Gmail. How you open a Gmail account? Go there, open your account, and sign up. And then you can start your own machine, VM there, no problem. Depends on. So I will recommend that if you want to go for an easy path of learning, go for Google Cloud. It will give good hardware to you, good CPU, good RAM. Right? Starting with the Google is a good point. Then you can go to the AWS. But if you want to learn AWS first, no problem. You can directly go and you can go with that. But if you want good machines, Google is a good option. And you can also go for paid version because it has a lot of options. No confusion, great combination. So it will go with that. Straightforward, right? But I will say that learn something cloud technology along with the DevOps. DevOps stand alone. You can either install in laptop or in your on premises or in the data center. But if you really want to go for the job, I will request join a parallel AWS course or Google or Azure cloud course and do that. Because simply DevOps, you will able to only go with the private data centers. You will not able to work in the AWS or cloud. Why? Because you are not familiar with that. So that is why I requesting you get the familiarity with this. Why? Because our course is how much days? 45 days course. Our course is 45 days course. So you will learn two things simultaneously. You will learn the cloud, you will learn the DevOps. That will be easy for you. That will be easy to crack the interview because interviewer, they will look more things from you. Okay. Now I will give an example here. Suppose you go to the market. You want to buy a cell phone. You want to buy a cell phone. What things you will look into the mobile before you buy a cell phone? Any idea? You'll see the features, right? What features you will say? Battery backup, display size, memory, RAM, CPU, octa-core processor, 16 processor, 100 processor, whatever stuff. And ultimately, what you'll see, last decision-making factor is what? Your budget. If you have limited budget, you may not go over the skyrocketed things. But if you have good budget, you can get a good phone with the good features, right? Similarly happens with the companies. If you go with the good companies, they will look for more features. That means your more skills, your DevOps skills, your AWS skills, your knowledge on all these items, and so on. So more the number of skills you have, more chances that you will be selected. So from the day one, you should start getting this account with the AWS or Azure or Google. Start working with that. Don't waste a single minute because our target is to get the job in 60 days. What is our target? 60 days. So you should get the job in 60 days. That should the target you should put. Don't put like 1 year or 2 years. Then this is not the right session for you. So complete this course, and after completion of course, you should get the job within 45 to 60 days. I will not say that once you've done the course, immediately you will get the job. That is a false promise. We will not give that. But if you study regularly, nicely, definitely you will crack the interview within 60 days. Because now you have the right skills, DevOps plus AWS skills, and you can go further with that. Okay. So our is the 45 days, and in the 45 days, it's a very limited time because every day we'll go with the 2 hours, and 2 hours is very, very less time. It's very, very less time. So you need to go with that. So how much practice you need to do? Minimum 4 hours practice you should do daily. How much time? If you are serious about DevOps, I will request to go and practice for minimum 4 hours. Don't say I did the class and everything is happened, I am happy. No way. You have to work minimum 4 hours. Because anyhow you are going to the job for 8 hours, right? Then why should not start investing the time right now before getting the job? Because then you'll also get habit of sitting 4 hours, 8 hours in the office. Otherwise you'll start looking, oh, something is uncomfortable because you have to work for 8 hours in the office, right? And I will say minimum 8 hours. We'll go with that. Okay. So some questions from online, I believe. Okay. Whether you share, yes, online people, you'll get the videos. All the videos are get recorded. So you'll get the videos. Okay. So 45 days, you will have to go with that. Okay, now what are the different flavors of Linux and what is the prerequisite? So first, you need to have a virtual box software or a VMware workstation. And then you need a CentOS CD or ISO image. So you need these two things before you start the DevOps. You need to install in your laptop. If you don't have that laptop, no problem. Then don't install in that. Directly go with the cloud. Simple. Pardon? Yeah, personal computer. That's what, laptop, desktop, or whatever. So you can go and you can install that. No problem. Right? You can sit at home. You can enjoy. No problem. You can sit in our PC in the lab. From morning 7 to evening 7, you will have the lab facility. We have a dedicated lab in charge for that, and you will work with that. And for the people in the class and the online, we will have the WhatsApp group. So any questions, any doubt, you will put on the WhatsApp. Okay, we'll go with that. Okay, now how to get the virtual box? So you need to go to the site. Here you'll go. Here I'll go. Here I'll say download virtual box. Now, why I will recommend VirtualBox? VirtualBox is a free. VMware Workstation is a licensed product, right? So I'll say that go to download Oracle VM VirtualBox. I'll click on that, and I am using this from last 8 years. I didn't see any problem. It is very good. So it has a very good options available. So I will click on that, download Oracle VM VirtualBox, and we will work with that. So first, you have to go with that and you have to install that. So some question online. Whether you share the class video to us, whether you customize the course content, since I already had GitHub. No, there is no customization. But if you want, talk to our support team. They will help you to get more details. I am not the right person to go with that. Okay, but definitely they will help you. Okay, fine. So looks like we have good internet connections. It is going with that. Yes. So this is what is the Oracle VirtualBox site. I'll refresh it because the icons are not appearing. I'll go with that. But you'll be able to easily download the software. Now for the people who are already here in the class, we already downloaded nearly 16 GB of software. So it can be available to you. Bring your pen drive or something, sit in the laptop or sit in the lab. They will help you to get the software. Or this software is already available on the internet, and you can easily download it from the internet. We are going to use all the open source free software, right? So there is no restrictions, no license restrictions. So there is no legal implications with this software. So we are going to use all the free and open source software. Similarly, we have the VirtualBox. Okay, let it come. We will see that. Now we will go and we will download the CentOS CD. Okay, so before that, you need to go with that. So in the VirtualBox, you need to download two components. One is the main VirtualBox software, and second is the extension pack. Okay, so you need to download two things. One is the main virtual software suitable for your operating system. Now you may have Windows, you may have Linux as your desktop operating system. So depend on, you need to go along and do that. Let me see that, it is still coming. Okay. Now with the CentOS, we can go with the CentOS version, anything, we'll say CentOS RHEL version. Either you can go with the 6 or 7.x. So latest is the 7. I will recommend go for the 7 version. Right? You can go for Linux 7 version. So that way it will help you to get the latest technology available, and we will also work with the 7. Let's see that. So we are having a very supersonic speed of the network, or maybe the possibility that the VirtualBox site has some challenges. So let's go and see other sites. Let's go and download CentOS. Download CentOS 7 64-bit. Let's go and see that. So looks like the problem in the Oracle VM site. Okay, now where you have to go? You have to go to the mirror site. Okay, so you'll go to the mirror, CentOS mirror. Sorry? Don't install 32-bit. In real time, you'll always go with the 64-bit. That is why I recommend go for cloud. Right? Open account in cloud and install 64-bit. There is a good official support available with that. For CentOS 7, 64-bit. Now, what is the difference between the 32-bit and 64-bit? Let's go with that. Okay, I will go to the mirror site first, and then we'll go with that. Yes. Now, here's the actual country. We are in India, so we'll go with the India site. And here you can see that lot of images are there. We will see one by one. But let's understand what is that 32-bit and 64-bit. 32-bit, 64-bit. So 32-bit has a limitation that it will only support 3 GB of RAM. What is the limitation? It will support 3 GB of RAM. Suppose you want a machine like 4 GB, 6 GB, 8 GB, you cannot create with the 32-bit machine. But you can go with the, it supports up to 128 GB of RAM or more plus, you can say. It supports up to terabytes. But I'm just giving the rough figure 128 GB. Because in your laptop, you will not have 128 GB. Or even though you go in the cloud, you will not use a machine with 128 GB. Because it's very, very high cost. The machine cost is very high. So I'll recommend go for 2 GB. One CPU, 2 GB is a good machine with that. But officially, in real time, we will work with 64-bit. Right? So don't use a 32-bit machine. If you have RAM constraint, go for 32-bit machine, but it has a limited support. Even you stuck with something, I may not able to also help you. I may not able to help you because officially it is not supported with the greater things. So I will recommend use the 64-bit because in real time also you are going to use 64-bit. Okay. Now with the ISO image, there are different flavors. One is the live CD DVD. What is this live CD DVD? Basically, it is called as a pre-installed OS. This is the pre-installed OS. That means, suppose Red Hat has announced a new operating system. Let's say Red Hat 7.3. Now you want to test it without installing it. So what you will do? You will download this live CD DVD. You will put it in your hard drive or not in your CD drive. Boot from the CD drive. You will get the brand new operating system. But it is pre-installed. Once you switch off, operating system will go away from the memory. So it is a temporary purpose, only to do the testing. Okay. So this is called as a pre-installed operating system. Second is the full version. So it is a full pack. And I will recommend this to you. If you are a beginner in Linux, I will say that go with the full pack. So you'll get the GUI and this and that. Okay. You'll get the GUI and these and that. But don't install the full pack in the cloud. Don't do that. If you are using desktop, then only go for the full pack, only for the desktop. But if you have limited RAM, limited CPU, you should go with the minimal pack, minimal version. Okay, so minimal version is a sleek version, and in real time we will use this. So I am going with the minimal version. I am going with the minimal version. I am not going with the desktop version, because in real time you have to work with the minimal version, not as a desktop, but you are free to use, no problem. You will get a GUI, that's all, nothing more than, nothing less. Okay, so in the real time we will always use minimal version. And another version is a net install. So I will say installation over network. Installation over network. So I will say that please do not do that, because if your internet is slow, then you are in the problem. So I will not recommend this. Okay, and in real time you will use this in the server. So these are the different flavors available with the your image, operating system image. Is clear? Okay, now let's go to the website and see something, if something is got updated. So we will go with that. Still it is, looks like there is some problem in the site itself. Okay, now you see the DVD version, everything is like a full version. And live means what? Pre-installed operating system. Then minimal, right? Now you can download via torrent also. So there is a torrent, links are given to that. Okay, so I don't have to explain what is a torrent. You know better than me what is a torrent there. And this is the last, is the net install. Okay, so these are the flavors available. So I will go with the minimal version. I will go with the minimal version. Is clear? So we'll go with that and we will work with that. So any question, any doubt at this moment? So looks like the page came back. Yes, so this is the virtual box. So you can download, now you can download the platform package. That is the first thing. If you are using Windows operating system, go for this. If you are going Linux, go for this. Okay, in Linux also there are a lot of flavors. So I will not go there. We'll wait. And second is what? Extension pack. So two things you need to install. First is the platform package, and second is the extension pack. Is clear? So for VirtualBox to get you, and this is the free operating system. This is the free virtualization software, and we will go with that. Now, how to do that? Let's go. So I will share one diagram. So let's go to the diagram and have the operating. So now let's say this is my laptop. This is my laptop. In that laptop, what we have? We have one layer, which is the hardware layer. So in that hardware layer, I have something. Then I will go with another layer, which is my Windows operating system. On top of Windows, I will install a VirtualBox. I'll install VirtualBox, and then I will go and create a virtual machine on top of that. I will define a virtual machine on top of that. So let's write it something. So this is my hardware. This is my Windows operating system. I have Windows 7. This is my VBox, VirtualBox software, and this is my VM, virtual machine. Okay. Now in real time, this base machine is called as a host. This base machine is called as a host. This is the host. And the other machine is called as a guest. Other machine is called as a guest. And this is in any virtualization. This is in any virtualization, in the cloud, in the on-premises VMware. The naming convention will remain same. The base level is called as a host, and the virtual machine is called as guest. Always remember that. Always remember that. Now this guest VM can be anything. This guest VM can be anything. Okay, I'll draw another box, and you can create as many as VMs you want. Okay, you can create as many as VMs you want. That means you can install various operating system. Let's say I install here as a CentOS. I install here as a Ubuntu, or I can install some more like VM or something here as a Windows. I can install Windows also on top of that. So you can install literally any operating system on top of that. So what is the advantage of virtualization? What is the advantage you will get with the virtualization? Any idea? What is the advantage you will get with the virtualization? You can simultaneously work with many different operating system flavors. You can simultaneously work with many different flavors. So you can try, you can test, you can work, and you can do anything with that. You can do a lot of things there. Right? So you'll go with that. Now, okay, so some question is here. Resource sharing, yes, that's correct answer. So you'll share the resource. And so what resource you will share? Let's say I have i3 processor, 8 GB RAM, and 500 GB hard disk in my laptop. That means how many CPU I have? I have 4 CPUs, and I have 8 GB RAM, and I have 500 GB of hard disk. Now, when I'm going to create a VM, I will take one CPU and I will give that to there, one CPU. I'll give one CPU for the top machine. I'll give another CPU to the top machine. I'll another give one CPU to top machine. Or sometimes I can give 2 CPUs to my machine. I can give 2 CPUs to my machine also. I say 2 CPUs. I can say 2 CPU. Where is my Windows gone? Okay, so you have 2 CPUs, you'll work with that. Now, how many CPUs you can allocate? For the VM, how many CPUs you can allocate? Whatever there is in the base. How many CPUs I have? 4 CPU. So how many CPU I can give at the top? No, not 4, only 3. Why? Because I need 1 CPU and RAM to my Windows machine. Otherwise, it will fall down. 1 GB RAM minimum, right? I need to give 1 CPU reserve for that. Otherwise, your operating system will collapse. If you give everything to top, there is nothing at the bottom, then you are in the problem. Right? So don't do that. How we are going to connect? How we are going to connect? That is your question. We will see that. That is why we are here. So we'll learn it. Definitely we'll learn that. Okay. Something, one question also from online. Okay. So sharing total number of VMs are created depends on which factors. Major difference, virtual, Docker, these, that. Yes. Basically, is the hardware resource which we are talking about. Basically, CPU and RAM are the decision-making factors when you are defining a virtual machine. Hard disk may not be the factor there, but basically CPU and RAM is the major factor of decision makings. Okay, so that way we will able to go along with that. Okay, now with that, let's go and start working with defining the VM. We will define our virtual machine. So let's go back and let me share the main screen. So we are here. I will minimize this. Or I can go here. I can say VirtualBox. Now, once you install the VirtualBox, you will get something like that. On the desktop, let me go to the desktop. On the desktop, you'll get the icon something like that, Oracle VM VirtualBox. Once you double click on that, you will get something like this. But all the left hand side will be empty. Nothing will be there. Now I have a lot of machines which we have defined for our training. Ansible, Chef, Puppet, DevOps, and these and that and other stuff. Okay. So there are a lot of things. Now let's go and define our own machine. How many machines you can define? You can define hundreds and thousands of machines. But how many machines you can start at a time? Depending upon your hardware resource. Don't start for 10 machines at a time. And everybody will try to get the CPU and RAM. Everything will go down. Right? So you have to understand the limits of your hardware. How to check the limits? You'll go to here. You'll go to the computer. Right click. Properties. And then you will go and you'll see that. So what it says, you have Intel i3 CPU. That means I have 4 processors. How much RAM? How much, what is the operating system? 64. Now, let's go with the important thing. When we are working with that VirtualBox, so we have to go with one precaution. Before installation of the VirtualBox, we have to enable the virtual flag, VTX enable in the BIOS, or virtualization enable in the BIOS. Now, you have to consult your hardware manual of your laptop or desktop that how to go to the BIOS, because Dell has a different method, Lenovo has a different method, HP has a different method. So I may not able to help you in that area. But consult your hardware manual to go and check how to go to the BIOS. Some says press F2, some say press F8, some say press F10, F12, or whatever is there. Or somebody said press the Dell button. It depends on what and how you want to go with that. Now, how the screen will look like. So let's go and see that. So I'll say virtual BIOS flag. So we'll say we will search for that. So it is going with that. Good. We got the image. I'll click on that. Sometimes it will take time. So how you will enable that? You have to go to the BIOS and then you have to enable that. Okay. So important thing is that you have to enable the stuff. Make sure that your base OS is 64. Okay. Make sure what you have to do. Make sure your base or host OS is a 64-bit. If it is 32-bit, I will not recommend to do this. So how to check that? You already know. You will go here and you say system type 64-bit. So you should have 64-bit as a host OS. Okay. Let's go and see the BIOS. So we have to enable that. We have to go with that. So this is clear. Then what happens if you enable that 64-bit BIOS virtualization option? When you go to the VirtualBox, when you say define the machine, well, I say click new. You see here 64 32-bit, 64 32-bit. If you didn't enable that VTX or virtualization, you'll only see the 32-bit. You'll only see the 32-bit. So to get that the 64-bit, you have to enable that in the BIOS. If you're not enabling that BIOS, here you will not see the 64-bit. But you have to go to the BIOS. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You have to go to the BIOS and you have to go to the particular section. Here is the section. So it is downloading. We have to wait for that. So you have to go to the advanced BIOS feature. And in that, you'll have the VTX or virtualization enable section. So It says phone battery is fully charged. Okay, fine. So it is downloading. Let it download. Okay, now let's go and create our virtual machine. So what we'll do, we will go and create a virtual machine. So I'll click on new. Now we are going with the batch 14. We are going with the batch 14. So I'll say DevOps batch 14. I can give any name. I can give any name to my machine. And then I will say type. Which is the type? So I'll say Linux. I'll say Linux. There are different types: Solaris, BSD, Mac, blah 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 stuff. But I will go with the Linux. Now, which operating system it says? We are going with the CentOS, and CentOS is a product of what? Red Hat. So we will say Red Hat 64. We say Red Hat 64. These three things you have to go with properly. Is clear? So you have to click on the new. You have to go with the DevOps batch or whatever name you want to give. Don't give the DevOps batch 14. This is for my reference. You can say as a DevOps practice, DevOps server, or DevOps Linux, or whatever you want to. Okay, you can give any name to that. So we have to go to the BIOS. It is coming there. I am not. Yeah, it's came now. So you have to go to the BIOS and you have to say virtualization enable. You have to say virtualization. Yes, that is the image, because I cannot go in the BIOS right now. My machine is running, right? So you have to reboot the machine. You have to press either Del button, F10 button. What operating system or what hardware you are using, I don't know, right? So you have to consult the manual page or manual of that hardware. It will tell you press this button to go and see the screen. So you have to press that button and you will be able to see the screen. Okay. So you have to go and see the BIOS. And if you have any problem with your laptop or desktop, not desktop, but laptop, of course, you cannot bring desktop here. So if you have the problem with the laptop, bring your laptop in the lab. We will help you to set up that. Right? So don't worry about that. Desktop, again, you have to see the screen. When it boots, it will give the message, press F2 for BIOS or press delete to go to the BIOS. You have to press that key and you have to go in this. It will not automatically start. There is a feature to go to the BIOS. That's why. Which hardware you are using? Hardware. So you should know that. How I can tell you without knowing that hardware, right? So check your hardware. Definitely we will help you there, right? So unless until I know the hardware, I cannot help you. So check your hardware. If you have any trouble, for the online members, if you have any trouble, put that in the WhatsApp group. We will create a WhatsApp group, but put that details and or contact to our center. We will ask our lab in charge to call you back and fix your problems there. Right? You can also call back, no problem. We will see that how to make that fix. But it's very easy. Just ensure that this is enabled. So to get 64-bit version. So check your operating system is first 32-bit or 64-bit, right? So you'll go to the My Computer, right click properties, and you should see that your Windows should be 64-bit operating system. And you should have minimum 4 GB RAM. If you are using 2 GB RAM, I will not recommend to go with this method. Then open an account in cloud, create the machine in cloud. Create the machine in cloud. Okay, you can go along with that. Okay, now how much memory I want to give? So I will give 2 GB RAM. So I will say go for 2 GB, 2048. Now what is that magic number? There is not a magic number. Basically, when you are saying 1 GB RAM is equal to 1024 MB RAM. If you say 2 GB, you have to multiply it by 2. So it's a 2048 MB RAM. So this is clear? There is no rocket science here. Just the mathematics. 1 GB means 1024, that you have to remember. Okay, we'll go with that. Okay, so I have given 2 GB of RAM. Now I'll say create a virtual hard disk. Create a hard disk. I'll say create. Now I'm on the next screen. On the next screen, what it says, VDI, VDMK, there are various type of hard disks are available. Let's say you have Samsung hard disk, Hitachi hard disk, these hard disk, that has it, right? Similarly, you have this hard disk. Now, why these hard disks are there? Suppose you want to bring your virtual machine from here and you want to put that in the cloud, you can easily export. You can easily export that machine to the cloud, no problem with that. So depending on the hardware, you can go and you can go along with it. Now, what type of hard disk you want? You will say dynamically allocated. Dynamic allocated means whenever I am using the hard disk, if it needs more space, automatically the hard disk will grow. Automatically the hard disk will grow. But how much it will grow? Up to 8 GB. That is the boundary. But if I say fix, then directly it will reserve 8 GB in my hard disk, which I don't want. Because if I'm not using 8 GB, unnecessarily it is wasting 8 GB. That's why I'll go with the dynamic allocation. So it will take minimum size. It will take minimum required size. It will not go more than that. Pardon? First, you have to go default. You don't have to change anything here. Okay, one thing. If you want to go with the GUI, change this hard disk to 40 GB, 40. If you want to go with the GUI, change this hard disk to 40. But I'm not going with the GUI. I'm going with the minimal version. So I'll go with the. Pardon? Yeah, in mine, it is already enabled with the BIOS. Right? That's why you are able to see that 64-bit. Otherwise, you will not able to see that. You will only able to see the 32-bit. In my system, already the virtualization is enabled. Okay. So, pardon? In the 32-bit, there is a limitation. You cannot go further. In real time, also, you will not use the 32-bit. That's why I say go for 64-bit. Right? For example, if you want to install Chef server, you may not able to install in 32-bit server because it only supports 64-bit. So looking at the future perspective, I said don't go for 32-bit. Otherwise, you have to rework everything. You have to rework everything. Then you are in the trouble. I don't want that you should be in the trouble when you go in the later higher stages. So go for 64-bit. That is what is my recommendation. Still, if you want to try 32-bit, you are free to do that. No options, no obligations. So you can try and you can go along with that. Okay. Okay, so we will go with that and I will create the machine. Now you see that it has created DevOps batch 14, but I will add this in this group because we are going into this group. So I'll put that. So I will drag and drop. That way it will not mix. So we are going with the batch 14. We are going with the batch 14 and we can go along with that. Okay. So DevOps batch 14. I have created so many machines. In that, this is one of the machine. Now this is the empty machine. It is like buying a laptop without operating system. This is like buying a laptop without operating system. Now you have to install the operating system. Okay. So it is assumed that you went to this site. Where is my site? It is assumed that you have gone to the CentOS and you have downloaded either everything or you have downloaded the minimal. I am assuming that you will download either one of them. Depending upon your choice, you will download one of them. Okay. So let's go with that. Now I will start. So what I will do, I will insert, when you go to the market, you buy the CD, you will put the CD in the CD drive and you will boot from the CD, right? To install the operating system. Now, how much time it will take to install Windows operating system? How much time it will take? Half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. And you go with the reboot. Let's go and see how we are able to go with the installation. Okay, some more questions there. Okay, so we're trying to get what is the difference between CentOS and Red Hat. The RAM, so the difference is that hardware limitation, which we already discussed. CentOS has a limited hardware support. RHEL will go with the bigger hardware support. Okay, so that is the only difference. Rest of the things will remain same. Rest of the things will remain same. No much difference there. Okay, fine. So what I will do now, I will go to the settings and I will insert my CD. I have already downloaded the CD. I will go there. I will go to the storage. Now, how much disk we have set up? 8 GB disk, right? So I will click on that. Now you see this is our disk, VDI disk. So how much we have defined? 8 GB. How much it is taking? Because it is a dynamically allocated disk. If you have said static, it will say 8, and below also it will say 8 GB. It will take all the space. We don't want that. Okay, so we are going with that dynamic allocation. Okay, now what is the CD-ROM? CD-ROM is the empty CD-ROM, right? So now what we will do, we will insert the CD. So I'll go here, I'll choose my CD. I have already downloaded many CDs. I have shown you that you have to go here and download the CD. Okay, so this is where you will go and download, either download everything or download minimal. I have download minimal there. So we'll go with that. And I will go with the CentOS 7 minimal. Okay, now there are a lot of flavors, 64, AMD and Ubuntu and so on, right? But I will go with this minimal. You can go with the GUI, no problem, full. So here now you see the name. So now CD is inserted in the machine. Which machine? Virtual machine, not the physical machine. Physical machine drive is empty. Okay, now I'll say okay, that's all. Now I will start the machine. I will power on the machine. How to power on the virtual machine? I will say click start. Select the machine. Which machine we want to start? 14. So I will click on 14 and then I will say start. So when I say start, it will go with that. Now here you see that F12 BIOS. You see that BIOS version. Okay. Now here when you go with the CentOS installation, you will able to see this. Okay. So now you booted from CD-ROM. So what you will do? You will press up arrow, down arrow, up arrow. So currently troubleshooting is selected. Test media is selected. Installation is selected. Make sure that you select the install CentOS. Make sure that you select install CentOS. Don't select the second option. By default, it will go to the second option. By default, it will go to the second option. So you have to press up arrow and you have to press, say the, go with that. So now it is reading the CD-ROM and it is trying to boot from the CD-ROM. Let's go and see that. So it is going with that, starting with that. Okay. So it is going with the installation. So it says starting the installer in a moment. Please wait. Good. So it will go with the GUI. You'll see the nice GUI. Very good. So now you have coming to the installation screen. So we will go one by one. Now you will see two mouse. One is this white mouse and one is this black mouse. You see here black mouse. So white mouse is for Windows. That is a host OS, and black mouse is for the guest OS. That is a Linux VM. You need to understand the difference, black mouse and white mouse. So if I click on that window, my black mouse will activate. My black mouse will activate. Suppose I want to activate my Windows mouse, which is a white mouse. I need to create which button? This button. What is this button? Right control. So here is a control button on the right hand side. I will click on that. Okay, right control. So it will go again. Let's go. I'll say that. So white mouse is for Windows and left mouse is for Linux. So once I click on that, it converted into black mouse. Okay. Now how to bring it to white mouse? Press with the right hand side, press the right control. Now you see that the mouse is again become white. It will come back. So you are going inside the VM. If you press the right control, it will come back in the Windows. This is clear? So you are going inside and you are coming out. Again, I will click on that. I will get this black mouse. If I press right control, I will again get the white mouse. You have to go in and come out. Go in, come out. That is what you have to do it. So first time it's serious, but it's easy, no problem. Okay, so I'll go to the white mouse and I'll scroll down. And here you can see that which language we have selected. English. You can select whatever you want. If you know Chinese, Arabic, no problem. You are free to do. I don't know. So I'll go with the Linux and I'll go to the black mouse and I'll bring down the black mouse and I'll say continue. I'll say continue. I'll click on the continue. Okay, so it is continuing. You can type, but generally we go US here, English. Okay, so here we can see the screen. Now I'll again go with the right. I will go up and you see the time, date and time stamp. So what is the current time? It is going with the time zone. So it is saying that date and time, America time. We live in India. So we have to change that. So I'll click on that. I'll again go with the black mouse. I'll click on that and I'll go to the India. Now what is here? It says America's New York. But we will go and we'll say click here and we'll go with the Asia Kolkata. You see that automatically came Asia Kolkata. Right? So we will go with the Asia Kolkata. And network time is on off. So it's off, no problem. I will again go down. Right? So you can say off. I don't want network time. I will go back. Say off. Hey, go off. It is not going off. Okay, so it will automatically sync, no problem. Fine. So it is off then. Very good. So we will go with that. So I said done. Set the time. You say Asia Kolkata now. Language, generally we go with the US English. That's okay. Profile setting. You'll click on that and select the common profile for general purpose system. Select for common profile, general purpose. Then I will say select profile. Click on here. So it says okay, done. Then I will go to the done option. So I have selected now security. You should see everything okay. Installation, local media, type, minimal installation. Good. Go back, scroll down. Okay, now installation part. Destination, automatic selected partition. So I will click on that. I will choose the hard disk. Which hard disk? This hard disk. How much size that hard disk is? 8 GB of hard disk. So I'll click on that. So we'll go with that. So let's go with the white mouse. Let's go up. So we have selected the disk and we said automatic go for the partition. Okay. We'll go with that. And no disk is selected. Okay, I'll go and select that. Now it says, okay, everything is looks go. Automatic partition. So I'll say do whatever you want there. I don't care about that. So same thing you'll do in the Windows, right? Create the C drive. Don't ask me anything there. No problem. So what I will do, I'll go up and I'll say done. Now we are ready to go further. We are ready to go further. So everything is now ready. Now here we say network. Do you want a network? Yes, of course we want a network. So I'll go to the network configuration. I will go a little bit up. I'll say, hey, I want, currently it is a disconnected. I will say, no, I don't want disconnected. I want it on. I want it on. So automatically you will get the IP. Automatically you should get the IP here. Now it says, what is the name of the machine you want to go? You have to go down You have to give the machine name. So what is the machine name? Our machine name, DevOps batch 13 dot my company. Pardon? Batch 14. Okay, sorry for that. Thank you. So DevOps batch 14, and we'll say mycompany.com. So I have given the name to my machine. So looks like we have one questions on the online. Go here. Let's see here. The chat. I'm not able to see the chat. Do we see the chat? Okay, here is that. In real time, which option they will select? Security while installation. Yeah, you'll go with the default option first. You'll always go with the basic profile setup while security in real time also. So you'll not go with any hi-fi configuration. Very basics, very natural things. You will go with the security options. Okay, so I'll go with the now done. Okay, now we are ready. Now we are ready. We have given the time, yeah, language, keyboard, security, everything okay. Local media, minimum installation, automatic partition, kdump, and wired connection. So these are, we are ready to do the installation. So this is the screen. Now another screen you will say create a user, blah blah blah. But that is optional. You can skip it, but you can go with that. We will skip it for the time being because we will learn all those things in the user management section. Okay, so let's go and begin the installation. Ready, steady, go. I'll click on that. Now it says that you need to set up a root password. Root means what? So in Linux, there are different type of users. One is a root user. That root means administrator users. In Windows, you have administrator. Similarly, in Linux, you call it as a root user. We'll call it as a root user. So we will set the password for a root user. So I'll click on that. I'll go with the black mouse. I'll click on that, and I will go with that. So make sure you should give a strong password. Don't give password like password 123, ABC 123, admin 123, 123456, mobile number. Don't use that crappy password, because if you create the system in cloud, your system will get hacked in 2 minutes or maybe in 1 day, and your account may get locked. So that's why you have to use the strong password. Don't give crappy password. Again and again I'm saying, use a 10 digit or 10 characters, at least one capital, one small, one number, one special character, blah blah blah, whatever you want to do, but go with that. Okay, so give the strong password. Don't give the crappy password. And this is what you need to do. Okay, I'll say done. So now I have set the root password. I will not go with this. Okay, I will not go with this because we want to see in the user management. We'll go with that. Okay, so it is doing the installation. You see that? It is already started the installation in the background. So it is going with the installation. Wow, very good. In real time, this installation will happen in 3 to 5 minutes. How much time? 3 to 5 minutes. If you go with the minimal version, it will not take more than 3 to 5 minutes. In real time also, the entire operating system we will install in 3 to 5 minutes. That's all. No 45 minutes, no these, that stuff. Everything in quick sessions. Okay. Now this installation can be even faster if you have good CPU and good RAM. Now I have only given 2 GB RAM. If you have 4 GB RAM, still it will be more faster. But anyhow, it will going along with that. Okay. While the installation is going, any questions you want to ask or anything you want to bring it up? Any online questions? Any classroom questions? You have to download both of them. One is a VirtualBox and one is a CentOS CD.
CD will need to keep in VirtualBox.
Yes, not VirtualBox. Anywhere in the C drive, D drive, it can be anywhere. You have to click and choose the location. Suppose you download in your download folder. So what you will do? You will go here. You will go to the VirtualBox. You will go to let me select this. Okay, settings. Then you go to the storage. You click there empty. You can click here. You can go any drive. You can download. You click on download. You'll see that. So it is not compulsory that you have to go in the VirtualBox. You can put anywhere. As long as it is available in your operating system, we are good. No problem with that. Okay, so installation is happening. Okay, some questions from online. Let's see that. Okay, from tomorrow sessions also you'll using the same meeting link. Yes, we are going to use the same meeting link. Okay, so we'll go with the same meeting links. It's a question or a suggestion? Okay, it's a suggestion. I was looking at the question. Okay, fine. Okay, any other questions you have? Okay, now while this installation going, okay, one more question from online. Let's go and see that. Yes, you can unmute and you can ask the questions. Okay, fine. Okay, now for the members who join late or join new, what I will suggest, we have already put a nice thing available on YouTube as a DevOps introduction. So I will request, I will recommend that please go to that link and watch that video. So you'll have one very, very sufficient idea and a good idea about the DevOps. So let's go here. So I'll say Naresh IT and I'll go with the DevOps and I'll press enter. So it'll go and search and we'll go with that. Okay, so you see that? Not yet. It is coming, coming and coming. So my dear friend, who is there from the Naresh? Chat. Who is there from Naresh? Can I know your name? Who is from Naresh Technology? Can I know your name? Yeah, Balaji. Balaji, please request the network team that here is the internet is very slow and we are not able to get the quick internet. So we need your help. Yeah, thank you. Fine. Okay, so with the DevOps, you can see the first video. I will click on that. So I'm not sure how much speed we have today, but definitely we will improve that. You don't have to worry. So we will go with this. So I'll request go to that video. It is like nearly 15 to 20 minutes video. So you should able to get that. Exactly, you can see it's a 21-minute video or something. So I will suggest, please go through that video. You will get good insight about the DevOps. I'm not sure how quickly it will go, but that way, okay, let's minimize this. It will come and go with that. So we have this video. I'm not going to play this video right now, but I'll request. So basically we have this video available. So I will request that please go search for Naresh IT and DevOps. So you will get the complete understanding of the DevOps, that what we are trying to help and get here. Okay, now one more thing is from online. Let's go and see that. Let me minimize this. How is the installation? Yeah, we are near to the end. So let's wait. Some question is there. So let me understand what is that question. Okay, so whether we are dealing with Chef, Puppet, Ansible, anyone? Yes, we are going to deal with Chef and Ansible. We are going to talk about that, right? We will discuss, we will install, we will configure with the Chef and Ansible part. So Chef, we are going very deep down. Ansible, we can go in the good session. So you can easily understand what is happening there. If you know Chef, you can easily learn the Ansible. Chef is a configuration management tool. Okay. Puppet, Ansible are also in the same family. It's a configuration management tools. What is the question? We are going to create a cloud. No, we are not going to create any cloud. Cloud is creation is not in our scope. Right? We are not going to create any cloud here. So basically, if you want to create a cloud, you need to learn OpenStack or something. So you can create your own cloud. Okay. So we are not going to create the cloud. Cloud is not our scope. Hope that answers your question, right? Okay. Any other things? Yeah, Jagjit. Yeah, please go ahead.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Jagjit.
Yeah, my question is basically I am having total 15 to 16 years IT experience in dominating experience into Microsoft technologies. And I am working as a Microsoft BI stack area as an architect. So moving towards into DevOps, how I can utilize my previous experience and I can shift into DevOps. That is my question.
Okay. Okay. So here is a question from Jagjit that he is having 16 years of experience and he is working on the primarily on the Microsoft technologies. And his question is that how he can leverage his or use his current experience and go into the DevOps part. So answer to your question is, Jagjit, is that definitely you can take the help of a DevOps. You can leverage your knowledge because if you are already having the good knowledge on the Microsoft tools, so whatever the tools we are going to install or whatever tools we are going to work, definitely those all tools are available on Windows platform. So you can use the same tool set and you can implement the similar projects onto the Windows platform. Now, how much experience you can gain available and all the tools what we are going to work, they are going to support on the Windows platform. But fortunately or unfortunately, so I'll say mostly unfortunately, 80% of the market goes for the Linux operating systems. So 20% people go for the Windows or Microsoft technology due to the open source and other factors consideration, right? But still you can use that tools on the Microsoft technologies. Now, what we are going to cover? We are going to cover looking at the 80% of the market. That means we will focus primarily on how to get these tools on Linux machines and how to install and configure these tools and how to make the use of these tools. So unfortunately, I may not able to help you on the Linux platform. Sorry, on the Windows platform because primarily we are focusing on the Linux platform. So if you are comfortable with that, if you want to learn the things, definitely you are welcome. And definitely you can go for the good experience, like 5 or 6 years of experience. So I will say that also learn something about the AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. That is a very, very added advantage you will get along with your experience. And you will have a better package available in the market there. So hopefully I address your question there. Is that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now what tools we are going to teach or learn in our sessions? So we are going to learn Git. We are going to learn Linux. I will go with the sequence, so that way it will help. So we'll first go with the Linux. Then we'll learn with the Git. In the Linux, we will go and cover some very, very important things: user management, package management, and so on. So we'll cover a lot of things there. So I'll not write, you can see the brochure there, the Git. Then, so I'll not go with the sub bullets, but we'll go with the main bullet. So Git, then we will learn something on shell scripting, bash scripting. Okay, then we will learn the tools called as a chef, or we will go with the LAMP. LAMP stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. We will work with that as a LAMP setup. Then we will work with the chef and Ansible as a configuration management part. Then we will work with the Jenkins. Then we will work with the Maven, Nexus, Tomcat. We will learn Nagios. So we are going to take the introduction of Nagios, not in details, because monitoring is a very vast subject. It cannot be covered in 2, 3 lectures or 7 lectures also, because it's a very big topic, but definitely we will touch base with that topic. Then we are going to learn Vagrant and the Docker. So these are the topics we are going to cover. If any other topic which is not mentioned here, we are not going to touch that topic. So whatever the topics we have mentioned here, we will go with the deep down, all those topics there. Okay. So these are the topics which we will cover in our sessions. Okay. So any other questions we have at this moment? 2 questions on the online. Let's go and see that. I'm working as how does DevOps? Yeah, definitely it will help to work with. And once you learn the Jenkins and the chef tool, definitely it will add advantage when you are working with automation tool like Selenium or Maven or JCoco or whatever you want, or Sonar Cubes. You can integrate the product with those tools. To learn Azure, do we need any programming? No, you don't need. Basically, cloud, you don't need a programming in initial stages, because it is just how to create a virtual machine. What is a cloud? Cloud is a factory to create virtual machine. Initially, you don't need that, but as your experience will grow, then definitely you need to know some good things, right? Either if you are working with the Windows, you need to learn the PowerShell, because PowerShell is a good shell available on the Windows. We are working on Linux, that's why we are going with the Bash shell. Okay. So those are the tools which we are going to cover. So hope Rajesh, I answered your question. Hope Surinder, I try to answer your question there. So definitely it will help to get a better understanding and knowledge. You can implement these technologies on your testing side. Okay. Whether again, okay, so whether we would find this class recording, yes. So basically, you have to talk to the Naresh Technology guys, and it is available every day. So don't worry about that. Everyday sessions for the people who are online, they will get the video sessions there. Okay. Okay. Any other questions we have? Okay, so looks like we have cleared the network issue. I don't know. Let me go and confirm. Let's go with that. Looks like we have that. Good. Fine. So I'll not go and do. Let me go and check with the VirtualBox. ORG. Okay, so looks like we have improved things, but let me see. I will not commit right now. I want to see this experience for next 2 or 3 days or more, and excellent experience in the whole session. If you are not having the good experience, then I will not able to download the software or make the things correct, right? So please make sure that this performance will continue throughout our sessions, so that way we can help people to get the better things out of that. Okay, let's go back to our installation. I am not sure we have. Okay, so installation is complete. It says, congratulations, CentOS is now successfully, and you can ready to use. Now we have, which product we have used? Minimal version. So there is no GUI. Everything is black and white. So I'll reboot. Let's go with the black mouse. Reboot. Graphical user interface, which we see in the Windows. And TUI, that is a text user interface with just a text. Okay, so you'll not have, your mouse will not work there. You have to do everything work with the keyboard and screen, that's all. So that is what is a TUI, text user interface. GUI means you can use the mouse. For simple sake, I have given that, right? If you can use the mouse, it's a GUI. If you are not, no GUI available. So in real time, there is no use of mouse. Okay. So now we can see that my system is up. So I can log in as a root user, as an admin user, and I'll give my secure password and I'll go there. So I am inside the system. So this is clear? So this is the black and white screen. Now daily we are going to work and visit this black and white screen and see the result out of the box. So we'll install the packages, we'll create the users, we'll do all these things. Of course, you can do all the things from GUI also, not a difference. But in real time, you'll always work on TUI. There is no mouse, nothing is available while working with the Linux in real time. Because you want to do the automation. Automation will always work in the background. At that time, no use of mouse is there. At that time, no use of mouse is there. Okay. Okay. Any other questions we have at this moment? Pardon? I have typed 4 times. I have pressed enter 5 times. That's why it came there. So there is no logic there. Right? Okay. Any other question? Yes, please. Yes, you have to install virtual machine in the cloud. There is no hardware available. There is only cloud. You will go to the cloud. How to create a AWS or virtual machine? So first I will say create the login. Right? There is a small tutorial available how to create a VM in the Linux. It is a 5-minute tutorial. Within 5 minutes you can create the VM. No problem with that. Right? So you can go along with your site. You can go and you can work with that. So you can create your own account. So if you feel any difficulty, come in the lab. We will definitely help you and tell you how to do that. Okay. So don't worry about that. Installation, everything, we will guide you. Okay. Fine. Any other questions? Any other things you want to bring it up? See, this is the right time that you can ask the questions because it will clear your all fundamental doubts, fundamental difficulties, and it will help you to get the things there. Right? Any other questions? Okay. So then what we can do, we can stop here. So thanks for joining Jagjit, Mohan, Ram, Rajesh, Sumita, Sunil, Surendra, Tapi, right? Yeah, Chaitanya. And what is the number? 309536. Thanks for joining because I don't know his name. We have the number only. Okay, fine. So thanks for joining. And tomorrow we will start with the Linux user management. We'll start with the Linux user management. Okay, and if any other questions, you can put the questions. You can call our number. I believe we have the number on the screen. So if not, I'll say Balaji, can you please put the number again on the screen and the email address so that way they will contact you or the team and they will get the support there, right? So tomorrow in our session, we are going to learn how to do a user management in the Linux. That's a topic which we are going to cover. So don't miss these topics. These are fundamental. These are important topics. You will get a lot of information and that's how you will learn the topics there. Okay. So thanks team for joining. See you tomorrow with the same VM with the same details and we will go further from that. So I am going to disconnect the session now and see you tomorrow then. Thank you. Take care and have a nice day. Bye-bye.